It was an affiliated college, and then later on became an autonomous college, and then now a autonomous university. We are a A++ graded university, so one of the top 100 universities in India. And we have 3 campuses: Visakhapatnam, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. Visakhapatnam is the oldest campus, 42 years, and more than 8,000 students study in that campus. And then we have Hyderabad campus, that is 15 years old, and around 8,000 students study here. And then we have Bangalore campus, that is 10 years old, 6,000 students study there. So we have the whole spectrum of education: engineering, management, pharmacy, nursing, physiotherapy, medical, dental, law college. So totally 24,000 students study in all the 3 campuses. So School of Architecture, Visakhapatnam, they started 13 years back, and Hyderabad we started in 2018. Yeah. And we conduct a master's program in architecture also, sustainable architecture. So we have been getting students for masters from all over India. Even for architecture, we have students from all over India.
That's great, sir. That's great. Sounds really nice.
And even faculty is also from all over India.
No, nice. That's important.
So it's not like a local affiliated college where all the students are from the same place and the teachers are from the same place. So we have faculty from all over India.
Great, great.
Hyderabad campus, we have 14 faculty.
For architecture.
Yes, professors. We have only one section. So so faculty requirement as per COA is 14. So we have all of them. And then we have support of School of Science, which teach maths for us, English for us. Then we have engineering college, which supports us in teaching engineering subjects.
Right.
And, yeah, we follow choice-based credit system. So we have an open elective, which our students can take from any other colleges.
Okay. Right. That's great. It's very good to be a part of a university structure, I believe, because, then you can see others and see other concepts, because I think in architecture, you can gain insights from multiple other fields and apply them, especially like management and, engineering students. So that's really good that the electives are open to take from all over the university.
Our building itself is a 10 lakh square feet building. So all the case studies for our students, we can do it in our building itself. Services, advanced services, building materials, right? Staircase also. There are so many types of different staircases in the building. And it's a university building. So our students, they can learn a lot of things in our building itself.
That's interesting, because to have something in front of your eyes all the time, I think that's the best learning, rather than going just for a case study.
Yes, we have an auditorium, 1,400 capacity, huge auditorium. Then we have seminar halls. All the infrastructure is one of the best in Hyderabad.
Great.
And I should thank Snigdha for following up with you. And
it was great to connect with her. I think she's been following up since a long time.
Our final year students were in internship, so they just came last week. So so this is the first Saturday, and first Saturday.
So your thesis is also in the 10th semester, right?
Yeah, 10th semester.
Because some colleges have it in the before the internship also, I feel, and then they have the internship at the end. But this structure, I feel, is good, because once you have that professional exposure, then you get to know a lot more things, especially for drawings, etc. So that's helpful for us. Also, it was in the 10th semester only.
No internship, it changes the perspective of the student about architecture.
Definitely.
Design how you design, there is a lot of change when you go to internship, come back.
Yeah.
Snigdha, we will start. It's 10 minutes past, no?
Yes, sir. A very good morning to everyone. I, Assistant Professor Snigdha Roy, welcome you all to award-winning architectural undergraduate thesis and organized by Geetam School of Architecture, Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam campus especially for the students of thesis batch, and this will enhance them to understand how to go through their thesis process. And so I welcome all the director sir, our assistant professor, our professor and associate professor in this webinar, and all the participants for taking out time from their busy schedule to join this webinar. And now it's time to introduce our guest speaker. So today our guest speaker, the presenter who is going to present is architect Ayushi Saxena. So a brief introduction about our guest speaker is Ayushi Saxena, architect Ayushi Saxena has done bachelor's in architecture from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, and she has been she has been very bright student throughout her academic achievements, and yes, so she has also been associated as placement cell coordinator and also being a best student throughout her academics. And yes, also the achievements which I would like to mention she has won is the purpose for calling her today is that she has won COA Council of Architecture Awards for Excellence in Architectural Thesis Zonal winner in February 2022 for her thesis, which she is going to be presenting today. And also SPA School of Planning and Architecture Gold Medal for Best Student in Bachelor of Architecture, and also gold medal for best thesis. She has also won Ayushi has also won general proficiency first prize, also scholarship, many scholarships she has won, and NASA, and also Trust Award, Jugal Kishore Chaudhary Trust Award for scoring highest marks in architectural design in third year. She has also published many research papers and regarding her dissertation in remnants of tradition in contemporary sustainable building design got published, and need of architects to deliver the smart city mission objectives, and what is the everyday, and another public paper, research paper, is everyday life of a Dalit female construction worker through an intersection lens. So she's more associated into she's a certified licensed registered architect with the Council of Architecture and also a human-centered design practitioner. So she has been associated with many organizations, and currently she's working as a associate experience designer in Cognizant Technology Solutions. And along with her freelance practice, she, as spatial designer and 3D visualizer, she was also executive architect in Incubus Consultants, and also business development and creative design consultant she has worked at. But currently now she's associated as a associate experience designer. So she has a background of UX and UI designer certification also. So today she's going to present about her thesis for our award-winning undergraduate architectural thesis. And now I hand it over to architect Ayushi Saxena to take forward the presentation. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation and taking out time from your busy schedule. Looking forward to your journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Snigdha, and everyone to call me here. I think it's a great opportunity for me. And it's not been a long time since I've been out of college. I passed out in 2021 only, and I totally remember the stress of the thesis semester. And I think it's one of the most important semesters, and also the most exciting ones, because when you enter the industry, there are, then you have many restrictions. You are restricted to very small scale projects, but the thesis is where you can go all out and you can be as creative as possible. So I think it's very important to enjoy this semester more than being stressed out about it. So yeah, with that, I think, can I share my screen?
Yes, I have already made you the co-host. You can.
Yeah, sure. It's visible, right?
Yes, yes, now it's visible.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'll present my thesis, which was based on the contemporary expression of tradition, wherein I had designed the International Convention Center for Jodhpur, Rajasthan. This was an actual proposed project by the government of Jodhpur, which I picked up. But before selecting the project which I have to do, I think the more important part was to decide the proposition or the basic idea which I want to go ahead with. And I think that's a key factor for your thesis, because the topic should be something which you're really passionate about and something which you really find the gap in. So for me, I felt that, with the effects of globalization all around, everything is becoming too much standardized. And especially living in Delhi, looking at the Gurgaon buildings, it was all what the international standards were. And somewhere we were losing out on what our Indian traditions and cultures are and how they are manifested into the physical spaces. So I think that is something that really touched me, and that is why I chose this topic. Then I picked up the International Convention Center because it was a great way to, represent this proposition in the form of a project. So the thesis proposition read as developing an iconic public space for business and tourism, which celebrates and promotes art, culture, and traditions and portrays them to international visitors. So that was the thesis proposition. And all of you, when you are choosing your thesis proposition, keep in mind that it should be something that you're really, really passionate about. For the thesis, basically we had our dissertation in the semester prior to the thesis, and that is when in my dissertation also I had chosen a topic which was on similar lines. So it was the remnants of tradition in contemporary sustainable building design, and here I had studied around 9 buildings which were located in areas which have a rich cultural and traditional heritage. And then I studied how they are manifested into the contemporary buildings and what are the architects doing over here. And then I found out that in terms of site planning, building materiality, and some other aspects, the traditional concepts were more prevalent than the others. So this gave like a head start to my project, wherein how can I incorporate the traditional concepts into my building? I think that was a great takeaway from this dissertation. And because it was a semester long project, it really gave a nice research background to my entire thesis project in the semester ahead. So if you've already done your dissertations, then I believe if it aligns with your interest, it could be a good idea to take a topic which relates to your dissertation as well, and your dissertation research can back up your thesis. So then coming to the project, the main building which I designed. So it was, like I mentioned, it was a proposed project by the Jodhpur Development Authority. So they had already given certain specifications as in what they wanted in the project, which was a convention center, a hotel component to it, a food court component to it, and stuff like that. And from there, I started understanding what all components would be a part of my final project. Then to start with the project, I think it's very important that we begin with certain research, and for that I had decided 4 topics under which I did some research to begin my project with. Because when we are given a blank slate of our site profile and we just start with something that comes to our mind, we don't really have information to back up our designs. So that is why research becomes really very important before you start sketching and before you start designing. So the topics which I had chosen were the interpretation of tradition in contemporary buildings and now I was very specific to the kind of climatic conditions that my project was in. So my project was in Jodhpur, so it was a hot and dry climate. So I took up similar desert regions and took up modern buildings. And it was not only restricted to Indian buildings. I also took examples from UAE because they have a similar climate, etc., to see what the architects are doing in the contemporary buildings nowadays. And then the second topic was climate responsiveness, architecture of the hot and arid desert climate, to understand what kind of strategies do people adopt in such a climatic condition. And then there was, of course, understanding of Jodhpur itself, and what are their handicrafts, what is the culture specific to that place, and to Rajasthan as in the bigger picture, and what are their traditions, how are they carrying forward their traditions since ages. And then, of course, there was an understanding of the program components, because at 5th year level, everybody expects you to get all the building sizes, the services, and the access and staircase, everything to a point. That shouldn't be something where you should be going wrong at this stage, because you have learned all of that till the 5th year. So then to move ahead, I did certain case studies, and because the major components of the project were the convention center and the hotel, so I took case studies under both categories. For the convention centers, I took an example of the Hyderabad International Convention Center, the Jaipur Exhibition and Convention Center, And then I think one very important thing is to take an international case study, because it gives you a perspective of what is happening beyond the country, and what else can you adopt to your design to make it something which stands out across the world, right? So I took an example of the Vancouver Convention Center, which is very famous. And then there were certain insights that I could draw from these case studies, which were to, have a public and a service edge in the convention hall. Then the convention hall, which is the main hall where all the activities would be taking place, it should be divisible, because there might not be a function at all times for 500 people. There would be ceremonies for 100 people, 50 people. Should be divisible. All services should be accessible to all parts of the division. So these were some takeaways which were really, really important in understanding the functionality of the convention center. Then I went ahead and explored some examples of hotels, which were one of which was the JW Marriott in Delhi, because I could physically visit this. Also, our thesis was in the times of COVID, so going physically to sites and seeing projects was not possible, not possible to go to the site for all of them. But whatever online material I could get, I did the case studies from that. But I think for you guys, it's now possible to explore and go out and see buildings physically, because that really helps you in understanding what actually a project is going to be like. So for the hotels, I chose the JW Marriott in Delhi, and then the Welcome Hotel by ITC in Jodhpur. So I took one in the same state to see what is happening within the same region. That was important. And I identified that the hotel, especially a hotel which is a part of a convention center, is located in a much more private zone. And then the zoning of functions, how the lobby is placed in a more public area, how the guest rooms are placed above it, all these inferences I derived. Also, I had taken a hotel as a project in my fourth year, so I had some background of it, which I think is very helpful. And if there's a programmatic component that you've already explored in your previous years and you want to keep it as a part of your project in your thesis, that really helps, because there is certain understanding of the functions and of the project that you must already be having, which will be really helpful for you in the thesis. So that was about the case studies. Then I went on to develop the area program after having enough insights from the case studies, from the research, etc. So like I mentioned, the major components of the area program were already given out in the tender document, which I had found online for this project, which was a government tender. However, there were some functions which I introduced on my own as well, because I thought they would be very important to first reflect my proposition into the area, into the convention center, and also it would help in generating employment for the craftsmen and other areas. So that's why I proposed some functions on my own as well, and did not take the tender document as the final script for the area program. So I had a hotel, I had a convention center, I had some exhibition halls, some retail component, which was something that I had proposed on my own. And I also dedicated an area for future development, because when I did the mathematics and I added up the areas for the different components which were there, it did not meet the FAR which was allowed for the site. And in your jury, there would be a question if you're not achieving your entire FAR, because there's a lot of money involved in such large projects, and now we are trying to design for a as real project as possible. So it's important to keep that business aspect in mind as well. So if you are not able to achieve the full FAR, which is totally fine, because we have limited time and in 4 months it's not possible to do everything, then you must have certain plan or a certain area dedicated in for future development, in which one might use the leftover FAR. So that is something which my faculty had told me very initially, and something which I kept on in my project. Then after having all the background insights in place, I went on to understand what my site is like. So then I did a site analysis for it, and I understood where my site actually stood in context of the entire city. So, for instance, in my project, the tourism aspect was very important. So, for me, it was important to see where the hot tourist spots are, and where are the airports, and where are the railway stations, because these were the nodes where the tourists would go or would come from to my complex. For instance, if somebody is designing a school, they might see the location of other schools or the location of the residential areas, because that is where their main users are going to come from. So it is important to understand where your site sits in context of the entire city, right? Then going into like seeing it on a micro, like more on a micro level, I saw I did a climatic analysis where I saw what the sun direction is like and what would be the ideal orientation for my buildings. And I deduced that a north-south one would be the best to cut down the heat in such a hot and dry area. So the orientation was important. The wind direction I analyzed. And the views also I saw that, because it's a touristy sort of a place, the views of the entire city also become really important. People would want to stand and experience the entire city at once. So that was also important. Then I understood the circulation around the site and saw that this is the main road abutting one edge of the site, and hence the main entries should be taken from this edge, and the service entries and other ancillary entries could be taken from the roads which are on the other sides. Hence, the road structure also defined the publicness and the privateness of the sites, and where the public edge is and where the private edge is of the site, which also helped in zoning the functions later on. And yeah, so this is the entries, and obviously you will do a SWOT analysis to understand what are the strengths of your site and what the weaknesses might be. So this is how I analyze the site to go forward. Then to finally put all these thoughts and all the background research and the area program analysis and the site analysis to paper, I now also started taking certain concepts and certain inspirations from the traditional structures, because obviously at every stage we have to remember our proposition and what we wanted to do in the first place, right? So that is when I saw a few examples of the traditional forts and palaces in the region, and also got inspired by their form. And then I started putting all the masses, which were, a function of the area program. And then I placed them on the site and introduced these courtyards, because this is something I'd seen in the traditional buildings, and which helped me in coming out with the final form of the place. So as you can see over here, this is the final concept diagram which I had prepared for my design. And now if I would have shown this concept diagram on the very first slide, I believe it would be like there could be 100 questions, that why is this place over here? Why is this building looking like this or that? But for each and everything, you need to have that why or that answer. And for that, the background research is really important. So all the slides which I showed before this, the case studies, the research, the site analysis, all of those gave me the factors to actually put them into the site and then have an answer for each and every design decision. So it's very important to pay attention to the part which is happening before your sketching on the site, right? Because that is what is going to give you the basis for the design. So all those ideas were then put together into this concept diagram, and this is what I had formulated. Also, this is the design development of my entire design. So initially, you can see it started with a very basic thermocol model. And I think thermocol models are a really, really good tool to iterate, because even SketchUp is great, but thermocol models give you a lot of flexibility, because you can have those masses cut out and then you can, place them in multiple ways, and it just takes a few seconds to place them like this or that, and then you will obviously be able to get a more clear idea of what your form and functions are looking like. So at the first stage, I had done the planning and the concept development, and as you can see, the future development plot was over here initially. Then I understood the strengths and the weaknesses from this design, and then I took them forward to the next stage where I also moved a little ahead, in which I did certain planning of the functions within the blocks, and also changed the overall site planning of it. So at each stage, your aim should be to maintain the strengths which were there in the previous stage, to remove the weaknesses which were there in the previous stage, and also move ahead, like move a step forward in the design process. So that should be your aim with each each of the submissions that are planned for you. And then, of course, finally, in the later stages, there was a detailed, the spaces were detailed out, the landscape was integrated, some facade details were also integrated, and so on. But obviously, these are just three main stages. There were many other stages in between these. So just keep documenting your entire process, I would say, because that really helps in showing your thought process to the jury also when you come to the end of it. So now coming to the final design drawing. This is what the entire complex looked like. This is the site plan of the site. And this is the most important plan, I would say, which you would present in your final work. And this would take the most time to develop also. So here, like I mentioned, I took the entries for the convention center from the main road. This loop had the exhibition drop off as well as the convention lobby drop off. Then for the hotel and retail, the entries were taken along this edge. The service entries were taken along the right side edge for the exhibition and the convention, because these require a lot of servicing. Also, the site was actually developed along two courtyards, two main plazas. One was this public plaza, which was of a more public nature, and it had more of the public functions around it. And the hotel plaza was imagined as more of a calmer space, which is dedicated to more of the hotel functions, and it had a more very formal sort of a landscape design in the char bagh concept and stuff like that. So this was the final site plan for my site. And I would advise everyone to, spend the maximum time, if you're spending on any plan, that should be your site plan. It should look very well thought of. Then coming on the floor-wise program distribution, such a diagram, an exploded axometric, really gives the viewer a good understanding of how you have divided the functions floor-wise. So for me, in the hotel part of it, I had the lobby area on the ground floor and the all-day dining at the lower floor. Then it was followed by the specialty restaurants and then the business center, and above which we have the spa and the pool area. And on top of it were the rooms. So the most public functions, accessible to all functions, were on the lower floors, and others were on the upper floors. And all these insights you gather only by doing case studies of similar buildings. And I think that should be your source of inspiration and of understanding the functionality of any kind of function. Then for the convention center, I had the exhibition lobbies at the lower floor, because these would attract more public rather than the convention center, in which one would go only when you are supposed to go for a meeting or something. And then we had all the ancillary facilities and the admin areas above it, and then the main convention plenary hall at the topmost level. And also, it's important to put in all your admin areas, all your service areas, etc., into your design at this stage, because that shows your understanding of the entire component that you're designing. So that is something that should be kept in mind. Then, because my presentation, like in the final thesis as well as today, was on an online mode, so I divided my plan into two parts. Sorry. One was the convention and retail part of it, and the other was the hotel part of the site. So I'll begin with the convention part of the site. So here we can see how the retail street starts from the pedestrian entry itself, and then it continues over here and then goes on till the hotel also. So these are all the outdoor shops which line this pedestrian street that is going, and this curves around the public plaza. So when a pedestrian enters the site, they can experience all these shops and the festivities that are happening in the public plaza. Also, there was an indoor retail component given because there are certain jewelry shops and gemstone shops which are very important for a region like Jodhpur. So these needed a more private and an indoor environment. So they were given in the indoor shops. And then obviously we can see the exhibition galleries and the convention entry lobby, which goes on the above floors. Also, for the purpose of the presentation, I had actually highlighted the very key parts of the plan because, when you're presenting in your thesis jury, you'll have like 10-15 minutes to present your ideas. And at that time, it's not possible to talk about each and every part of your plan. So it's very important to highlight what are the main features which make your design stand out. And then it's important to graphically also highlight them. Like here I've talked about the use of streets, which is a traditional planning concept also. So this was the retail bazaar street. It also had because it was a multi-level thing. So it was stepped, and these terraces were all also accessible, which were inspired from the stepped gardens in forts and palaces. Then coming to the above floor, we can see how these terraces, have a visual connection to the public plazas on the ground floor. So the visual connectivity was important over here. And other spaces we can see are all double height spaces on this level. And then this floor had the food court and the plenary hall, and also the location of the food court was very strategic because there are breaks in between the meetings when the delegates are coming to the plenary hall, and then they have to go out for a lunch or something, and then the food court comes very handy. Also, the step plaza is a place where these people can relax in between the meetings, and also the positioning of it was kept over here because it was closer to the institutional areas, and the students could come here as it was a very porous site, and they could relax in their free time. So that is why it was positioned like this. This is the view of the step plaza. All these 3Ds and renders I had taken out to explain what the spaces would ultimately look like. Then this is the floor above that, which also again shows most of the double height spaces. But here we can see the raked seating, which was an optional sort of a seating given in the plenary hall, because some sort of meetings or some functions could require such a seating arrangement. Then this shows, this is again an axiometric which explains the plenary hall in much more depth, that where are the VIP rooms given, where is the main plenary hall given, where are the admin offices. So all the ancillary facilities are explained over here, and also the divisions which could take place and the different permutations and combinations which could happen within the hall. This is a section through the plenary hall which shows the trussed roof and the sloping roof of the site. Also here we can see a view of the bazaar street, which is the retail street, and how the artisans and the local craftsmen are also getting employment and are getting promotion and recognition because of the introduction of this area program feature. So that was about the convention hall. I also did certain interior renders. So this is the food court, where I have explored the drama which is created through the play of light and shadow, which is something very prominent in forts and palaces, especially in Rajasthan, if we see. So it's an inspiration from there. And this is a view of the plenary hall, the main hall from the inside. And here also I had used certain jali walls, and the lighting, etc., was inspired from the traditional concepts. This is the front elevation of the complex, and here like if you would have noticed, there were multiple staircases that were there in the next to the plenary hall. I'll just highlight those. Yeah, like these staircases. So these were not something which was just plunged onto the facade, but they were also very well thought of in terms of how the visual quality of it is going to be like and how it's going to look within the entire form. So something which is a norm, which is a bylaw that you have to give, can also be very well articulated in your design. So that is something that we should keep in mind. Then these are the wind towers which were there, which is again an inspiration from the traditional buildings, and it was used to keep a wind flow, a cool wind flow within the outdoor spaces of the complex. And then there was these lattice arches, which is appropriation of the traditional arches which are there. So it's just not an arch, but it sort of accentuates the walkway which is there in front of the retail street. So these were the visual elements. Then coming to the hotel. Similarly, I had drawn different floor plans for the hotel. So this is the ground floor where we can see the charbagh planning concept, the central axis that is being formed, the all the dining space, the lobby area, etc. This is what the upper floors look like, where we have the specialty restaurants, where we have the business floor, and different kinds of meeting rooms in the business center are there. And this is the street which connects the hotel to the retail street. Like I talked about that continuous street, this is what the extension to the hotel part of it looks like. And within the hotel also, I did not want a typical doubly loaded typology, because that is not something what it wouldn't reflect my proposition well. So I integrate, even though it was a high-rise hotel, I integrated a courtyard within the built block of it, and the form which is like this, like an opening form, was also a deduction of that, because I wanted to introduce this courtyard space in between, so that the corridors can look onto that courtyard, and they don't feel that they are inside a space, stuck inside a space at all times. So this is what the green terrace over here looked like. It was located at the pool floor. So this floor became like a very outdoor sort of an environment, even though it was inside a building. So the gym, pool, and all of those were spa were located over here. Then the placement of the suites was also very important in a hotel, which is again something that I had learned from my case studies and my prior research, that the suites should have the maximum views. They should be located in the best possible locations. So on the topmost floors, I had placed these suites which had a two-way view of the greens of the future development plot as well as of the hotel courtyard. So this was a well thought out decision. And then this is a section which is cutting across the hotel, and then it continues to the retail space, etc. And some parts of the hotel are also visible in elevation. So drawing sections again, not as an end product, but as a part of the design is important, because initially when I had drawn these sections, some parts seemed to be very flat, or seemed to be very boring, or the experience didn't seem to be very exciting for the users. So that is why that is where I got to know that these are the areas I need to work on, and then ultimately I was able to come up with this section. So it had a lot of iterations prior to it, and it was not like that the design is done and now I'm going to cut the section. It does not work out like that. So these are some room layouts and the view of the hotel lobby. Then this was a night render which I had done to show how the lighting and the night view of the complex would be like, because we had mentioned that it has to be an iconic complex, so it has to be iconic at all times of the day, and whoever the passers-by are should stop and look by it, that it looks like a great building. So that's why I rendered this view as well. Then coming to the technology part of it, because in my college it was important to detail out what all tectonics you are incorporating within your design, and what is your structural system like, what are the HVAC systems like, because at this stage, after doing all these courses in bits and pieces in all your semesters, it's important to combine all that knowledge into your thesis project. So that's why I had drawn this structural diagram in which I had shown how the basement has this 8.5 by 8.5 grid, but on the upper floors it becomes a large span structure, because that was a very important part of my project, because these large span the plenary hall had to be a large span structure, and how I'd incorporated the trusses within the hall. After that, what's the roof insulation going to be like? Because the roof was a very large area on top of this plenary hall, and we had to keep in mind the heat deduction from this roof system. Then the wind towers, as I had shown you in the above renders, were also important part to understand how they are going to actually work in the outdoor spaces. So the inspiration of this was actually taken from a project in Dubai, which is also using a huge wind tower in there. It's a very contemporary sort of space that they are using. And now, because in the earlier times, actually, they had used these wind towers to for air circulation within the indoor areas, right? But now, because we have norms of air conditioning and HVAC, etc., it's not possible to just rely on these wind towers. So these were, in that project also, these were used as an area to circulate air within the outdoor spaces, which is something that I adopted. And I was able to adopt and understand this only because I had done that case study, or I had read that example. So it's very important to keep your research and your case studies on throughout the design process, and don't limit it just to your submission. Then this was the building, the wall section, where the jali panels and how they are located at a distance from the walls, acting as a second skin for insulation. That is shown over here, the parapet details, etc. You must have already done these earlier, but now it's the time to show them in your design. Then the landscape, because landscape was a very important part of the microclimate. So it was also inspired by the traditional concepts of charbagh planning and of the use of central water bodies, etc. Then I also did certain calculations of the HVAC systems, and what kind of an HVAC system would I like to adopt. This was not a very in-depth exploration, but definitely I did, studied 2-3 HVAC systems which might be applicable for a hotel system. And then I shortlisted which would be the best for my hotel, which was the VRV system that I adopted. And in the convention hall, there were the chilled water systems, which is more applicable for a large span and a large scale space like the convention center. So these are certain technicalities which, if you go have the time, definitely you should go into these, because these are something which make your project realistic and something that can be built. Then yeah, this is just the last slide. So I think my presentation, now I can take any questions if there are. Thank you so much.
Yeah, congratulations on winning the gold medal, Ayushi. And actually, the work that you have presented here, like it was so detailed and so meticulously presented, right? The sections, plans, elevations, the views that you have rendered. So you might have used multiple softwares, right? To
Yeah,
get
definitely.
Yeah, can you tell something about that?
Right. So I had used AutoCAD for all my drafting, but before that, there were a lot of sketches which were done by hand. So that was the first stage. Then the drafting was done on CAD, and I used SketchUp for my 3Ds. And then I used Lumion for my renders. So it was a combination of a lot of software. But I would definitely suggest, if you guys know Revit and are comfortable in using that, it's a very good software to work on, and I've worked on it earlier. So that's something which is a all-in-one sort of a combo. So you can use that also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you might have done a lot of planning how what should come on what sheet, right?
Yeah.
Because I saw you using extensively axonometrics, blown up axonometrics, right? So axonometric itself is a big effort, and you have done, you have used axonometrics very thoughtfully, and the
Yeah,
sections also very thoughtfully. So
yeah,
even that might have taken a lot of effort for you to figure out like what you
yeah.
want to present, how you want to present.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think apart from the design, it's very important to plan your semester very well, because these axos, or you can dedicate time to the final presentation only when you have a good chunk of time left for it. So initially, like you said that they've just entered the thesis semester, so it's important that the background research and the site analysis and all those things which they can start doing on their own, it should start at a very early stage, because like end May, at least you should have 2 to 3 weeks left with you to work on the presentation, because your jury is going to, or like I'm presenting here today, but I just had like what 40-45 minutes to explain entire 4 months work, and definitely there was a lot more work gone into it. But to explain your thoughts and your process and your final design in that 15-minute window requires a very good visual presentation. So, and everybody, even if the jurors are architects, they might not, in one glimpse, they can't go into every detail of the plan. So it's important to come up with these graphics to, visually represent and highlight what are the important parts of your design. And for that, you need time. So the planning is very important of the semester. Yeah.
Storytelling of the thesis is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But before the presentation, I feel all the other work is very important, because that is only
Yeah,
when the presentation would be good. Yeah.
yes. No, see, the work that you do before is what is the basis of your story, isn't it? So you will get a good
Absolutely.
story if you have done a good work.
Absolutely.
And definitely, I think you would have rehearsed your presentation also.
Yeah. So like today, I tried to keep it more interactive and, also giving certain tips to whoever is attending. But when it was my thesis presentation, I had written a full word-to-word script for for explaining my design, and I had learned certain aspects for it, so that I knew exactly what to speak on which slide, because the time was absolutely limited to 15 minutes for my presentation. So we couldn't go beyond that. And in those 15 minutes, you can't talk about the things which are not important. You have, each and every sentence has to be really very important for your design. So it's very important to plan out and rehearse your script beforehand. So that is something that is really useful in the final jury. Yeah.
Good. So your experience tells that students should use Revit so that they get a better product.
Yeah, it's not Revit or AutoCAD or SketchUp absolutely doesn't define your end product. It's just the speed of your process. So if you're
Yes.
comfortable with it, your speed might be more, but the end product can be as good with hand drafting also as compared to Revit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
So
tool would not define.
hand drafting, I don't think 4.5 months
Huh,
would be
of
shared.
course, but yeah, I mean, the tool is not the key to the end product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, students, any questions for Ayushi? She has done a wonderful work. The way she presented her thesis, I think that created a great impression on the jury. So that is the reason she got uh, gold medal for her thesis. Yeah. So the amount of work that she has put into those drawings, and then the design itself, and the way she has understood her design problem by doing her case studies and then literature studies. So any questions for her? You can chat also, you can put your questions in chat. It's not an issue. Okay. All right, then, Ayushi.
Yeah.
We
There's just one link that I'll share on the chat. Actually, I'd written this article on Medium on how to ace your thesis. So it had some tips which were very useful for me. So if any of the students would like to go through it, I think I talked about most of them, but they are written in the article also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this Zoom recording is actually put on a YouTube so that our students, they can go through whenever they want. And definitely, I will ask your permission so that the students can contact you on email if they want.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Sure.
I want
Yes.
you to mentor our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And can you tell us about what you are doing right now at Cognizant? That's very interesting experience designing, right?
Yeah. So actually, after graduating, I was working as an architect at a studio which had designers also, and it was a multidisciplinary studio, which really intrigued me to go beyond just architecture and explore the field of design as a whole. So I took up some online courses along with my dissertation semester also, when there was a COVID lockdown, etc. I had a lot of extra time. So I'd done certain UI, UX courses, graphic design courses on my own. So I wanted to professionally also experience something beyond architecture, something which is something which adds on to my knowledge. So right now, my project at Cognizant as an experienced designer is of a metaverse project. So it sort of combines my architectural knowledge, because I'm responsible for designing the concepts for the environment in the metaverse experience. So it is something which is stemming from my architectural knowledge, but it also extends to the digital design aspect of it, and to the user experience aspect of it. So it's a combination of the two, and I'm really enjoying it. And I think architecture gives you so much more knowledge than just making buildings, because you're equipped with a lot of tools, with a lot of the design processes, and everything is very much applicable to other spheres of design also. So I think that is something which everyone can look forward to.
Yeah, you are exploring the most happening architecture metaverse.
Right.
Good.
Keeping up with the trends.
Yeah. So you are contributing to the future.
Yeah. Trying to.
Good. Very good, Ayushi.
Yes, I would like to say something. Ayushi, firstly, I would like to congratulate you for it's a well-deserved thesis, and
Actually.
yes, it's incredible, speechless, and how each and every step has been configured and defined through the process. How it looks very easy in 45 minutes, everything has been incorporated, but the amount of hard work, the amount of thought process which has gone incorporated in this is really incredible, and it's really inspiring. Students should definitely ask you. I don't know right now, though, means it's actually so much thing to understand. Then at one go it can't be understood, because every part, each and every aspect has been covered, and so many case studies, and how along with it the actual true point which you mentioned is that the planning of the semester has to be there, and very systematically it has to be incorporated, so that the outcome comes out well. So and we don't regret the fact that no, we missed out this point or something like that. So it's a very good, the work is amazing, it's very amazing.
I would just like to say that like the planning, I think it's in college it's quite easy for us, because actually the faculty sort of plans out our submissions for us, and we already know okay, after 2 weeks we have this submission, and we have this submission. So the easiest way to plan it would be to not miss any of the submissions, and work for each of the submissions like it's like it's really very important. So the planning pressure won't be on you then. It would just be just complete the stages which are next, and it will just help you sail through. So
Yes.
that's the easier way to look at it. Yeah.
Yes, planning and the passion towards getting out the best from it was completely reflected in each of the works, and that was
Each of
really
the sheets.
yes, each of the sheets. And yes, I not only for students, but I also learned a lot, and it really inspired me. It's really motivating to see through your works. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I guess, sir, we should now conclude
Yeah.
our session.
Yes.
Yes. So for further, as a token of information, we have further thesis webinars scheduled, and I would like to express my appreciation to all the participants and our guest speaker, Professor, Director Sir, Associate Professor, and Assistant Professor to take out time from the busy schedule, and would like to close my remarks on behalf of Geetham School of Architecture and officially announce the end of today's webinar, and wishing you all the future prosperity of and extend my gratitude, and thank you for your attention. Stay safe, stay healthy. Signing off today, Assistant Professor Snigdha. Bye, take care.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayushi.
Thank you. I will share you the link soon. YouTube
Yeah,
link.
you are on mute, Ayushi. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.